Welcome to 1726, a time when people wore giant wigs, bathed approximately never, and thought leeches could cure anything. It's also the year Mary Toft, a poor woman from Godalming, England, looked around at her modest life and said, "You know what this world needs? A woman who gives birth to rabbits." Yes, rabbits. Sit down. This is going to get weird. Mary Toft was your average 18th century peasant, struggling, bored, and probably wondering how she got stuck in a century where the most exciting thing to do was not die of smallpox. But one day, Mary decided to shake things up. She claimed she was pregnant, which was believable enough. But then things took a hard left turn into Crazy Town. Yosef Mary began birthing rabbits. Yes, you heard that right. Not babies, not puppies. Rabbits. Fluffy, hopping, carrot-munching rabbits. Because apparently 1726 was a time when logic took extended vacations. Now, you might think, surely no one believed this. Oh, sweet summer child, you underestimate the 18th century. See, Mary told everyone that while she was pregnant, she had an overwhelming craving for rabbit stew. Apparently, in her mind, this made her womb think, ah, rabbits. Got it. And instead of someone saying, Mary, that's not how science works, her neighbors were like, checks out to me. Word spread fast and soon local doctors got involved. And did they laugh Mary out of town? No. Instead, these highly educated professionals leaned in and took her seriously. Fascinating, one doctor probably said while stroking his wig. Tell me more about your bunny situation. And thus began one of the most bizarre medical hoaxes in history. Spoiler alert, it only gets weirder from here. So here's where things start to snowball, or should we say, snow rabbit. Mary Toft, armed with nothing but a straight face and an apparent talent for sleight of hand, convinced local doctors that she was, in fact, giving birth to rabbits. Yes, rabbits. Because apparently in 1726, that seemed like a totally reasonable thing for a human woman to do. Enter Dr. John Howard, a man with a medical degree and absolutely no ability to detect shenanigans. Mary summoned him to her home, where she claimed to have given birth to several rabbit parts. Not a whole rabbit. Oh no, that would be ridiculous. Just parts of rabbits. A head here, a paw there, the usual. Dr. Howard, instead of saying, "Ma'am, this is clearly a butcher's leftovers," decided to double down on his medical expertise. Astounding, he probably exclaimed, while adjusting his unnecessarily large wig. This must be a groundbreaking discovery in the field of rabbit obstetrics. He then proceeded to document the whole thing in the most serious tone possible because 18th century doctors loved writing things down, even when those things made zero sense. And Mary? She kept the act going. Over the course of a month, she delivered more rabbit parts as Howard looked on, nodding gravely like he was witnessing a medical miracle, and not the world's weirdest magic trick. At one point, Mary supposedly delivered 9 rabbits in one day. 9! What was Howard doing during all this? Probably scribbling furiously in his notebook and muttering, "Fascinating, simply fascinating." Word of this bizarre phenomenon spread quickly because, let's face it, there wasn't much else going on in 1726. No TikTok, no Netflix, just Mary Toft and her rabbit escapades. Soon, other doctors came to investigate, because nothing says serious scientific inquiry like a woman pulling rabbits out of... Well, you get the idea. And spoiler, they believed her too. Why? Because science, apparently. And so, Mary Toft and her magical rabbit factory were carted off to London. Because when small-town medical nonsense isn't enough, why not involve the nation's capital? Enter King George III's personal physician, Nathaniel St. Andre, a man whose qualifications included being very impressed with himself and apparently not much else. When St. Andre heard about the mysterious rabbit births, he thought, ah yes, this is the groundbreaking medical case that will make me famous. Spoiler alert, it did not. Mary was brought before a crowd of top-tier doctors, scholars, and probably a few random nobles who were just there for the drama. Saint Andre examined her and declared with supreme confidence that Mary's womb was clearly a rabbit's paradise. Because that's the kind of genius diagnosis you get when the 18th century medical community operates on vibes instead of facts. But wait, it gets better. Saint Andre wasn't content with just believing Mary's story. Oh no. He wrote an entire scientific paper about it, claiming that Mary's diet must have caused her to conceive rabbits. Yes, apparently, eating a salad while staring too hard at a bunny could rewrite human biology. Science. Meanwhile, the king himself got wind of the case. Was he concerned about the state of medicine in his kingdom? Not really. He just sent some poor guy named Syracuse Ahlers, another surgeon, to double-check St. Andre's work. And wouldn't you know it? Ahlers immediately smelled something fishy, and it wasn't rabbit stew. He noticed inconsistencies like how some of the rabbit parts Mary delivered looked suspiciously like they came from fully grown bunnies. Huh, who'd have thought? But did that stop St. Andre? No. Instead, he doubled down, insisting Mary was the real deal. At this point, you have to admire his commitment to being wrong. Meanwhile, Mary basked in her weird celebrity status, probably wondering how long she could keep this going before everyone caught on. Spoiler, not long. And so the Great Bunny Con of 1726 began to unravel, not with a bang, but with an interrogation. By now, Mary Toft was under so much scrutiny it was like reality TV, but with powdered wigs. Enter investigator Sir Thomas Clarges, who shockingly had the revolutionary idea to ask Mary some direct questions, instead of just collecting rabbit parts like trading cards. Genius, right? Clarges didn't need long to sniff out something fishy, or rabbity in this case. Mary was caught trying to smuggle a rabbit into her chambers. Because apparently, if you're staging the weirdest hoax in medical history, subtlety is optional. When confronted, Mary folded faster than a cheap lawn chair. She confessed it was all a hoax, her exact words. Okay, fine, I didn't give birth to rabbits. Are you happy now? Probably not the full quote, but you get the vibe. Turns out Mary had been, wait for it, manually inserting rabbit parts into her body. Yes, this woman was so committed to the bit, she was literally risking infection for the sake of fooling 18th century doctors. And the doctors? They bought it. Honestly, these guys had fewer critical thinking skills than a toddler with a magic kit. When the truth came out, chaos ensued. The doctors who had staked their reputations on Mary's miracle scrambled to explain themselves. Well, you see, in theory, rabbits could, never mind, one probably muttered before running for the nearest exit. Even King George III, who had been following the case with the enthusiasm of someone watching a soap opera, was reportedly not amused. That's right. Getting punked by a rabbit hoax was officially too much even for 18th century royalty. As for Mary, she was thrown in jail for fraud, which seems harsh considering the doctors were just as guilty of, believing a woman could pop out bunnies like some kind of human Easter basket. But, hey, justice was weird back then. And so the bunny birth saga came to an end, leaving behind a trail of embarrassed doctors, confused rabbits, and one very bizarre chapter in medical history. And so, with Mary Toft's bunny business blown wide open, the 18th century medical world collectively face-planted. Public outrage was swift, because apparently people don't appreciate being lied to about rabbit births. Who knew? Mary was tossed in jail for fraud, which, considering the alternative was being burned at the stake or something equally medieval, was honestly a win for her. Meanwhile, the doctors involved, especially Dr. St. Andre, got dunked on harder than a cookie in hot tea. His career? Toast? His reputation? Fluffier than the rabbits he claimed Mary birthed. Speaking of rabbits, they probably had no idea what was going on. Wait, we're part of a what? One bunny probably asked its bunny pals while nibbling on some 18th century lettuce. The aftermath of this whole fiasco was both hilarious and kind of pathetic. The medical community had to do some serious damage control. People started wondering, hey, maybe not everything someone says about miraculous animal births is true? Revolutionary, I know. And it didn't help that this mess became a cautionary tale for centuries. To this day, historians and medical professionals look back at the Toft rabbit hoax and collectively cringe. As for Mary, she lived out the rest of her life quietly, probably avoiding eye contact with anyone holding a carrot. But her story serves as a reminder. When someone says they've given birth to a rabbit, maybe, just maybe, don't take it at face value. And if you're a doctor, maybe remember to ask the important questions like, are you hiding rabbits under your bed? And why does this whole thing smell like hay? And there you have it. The time medical science got absolutely roasted by a hoax involving rabbits. It's a story of gullibility, hubris, and why the 18th century was just not ready for prime time. The moral: don't believe everything you hear, especially if it's hopping your way. The end.